Hey guys, this is Tim,
And I'm Willem.
and this is Hear Me Out Pitch.
Ooh,
Ooh,
Tim did my kind of interview. I mean,
uh,
not interview,
intro.
intro. I like it.
I'm so freaking tired. Oh my gosh. I slept like a baby last night, which means I didn't sleep very well. Because I know babies, you say, I slept like a baby to say you slept well, but in reality,
They're awful.
they don't sleep very well at night.
Nope, they do not.
They wake up crying a million times,
Yep.
which I may or may not have done last night.
You woke up crying?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm
You puked?
no.
Wife, I threw up.
No, I could not sleep last night.
Uh,
So apologies ahead of time. I'm running on like 5 hours of sleep
5 hour
at the moment,
energy.
and it's ugh.
So it was a good call to do this ASAP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would not have survived if we did this later in the day.
Yep.
We're doing this at about 5 o'clock
Yeah.
in the afternoon instead of our typical 7:30.
We haven't done. Well, I remember how you were you were the one that was like, "Wait, I get all my yawns out," and now here I am ruining that. Yeah, just we're doing it right after work. And today we're talking about another special request from Jerry, and he had requested and um, what's the not request when you not insist you suggest he suggested that
Mm-hmm.
we do The Creator, the 2023 movie that came out last year. And honestly, I'm sad to say that I love this movie.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed this movie. It
We
was
were
we were pleasantly surprised.
yes, especially I think I'll say like you were really not into it at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but near the end, I think we both were just like, is it a perfect movie? No, but I think our expectations were like really really low that we left going, oh, that was it was beautiful. It
It was
was
very, very well done. My only issue was just how depressing the movie
oh,
really
it
was.
very
That
depressing.
was I mean, there are a few things that could have been better, but like that was the big thing. It's a story about in all reality extinction levels of genocide and survival, and it was kind of depressing. Like it reminded me almost of like there's the stories and movies and shows all about the war, World War One, and then World War Two, and then we got the Vietnam War and Korean War, and all of these we're getting stories, and it's just super depressing, and it's history, and that's kind of what this movie made me feel was like this could be like it was evoking similar feelings of some of those. Like I
They
haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, but
oh
I know you love that movie.
no.
Um,
It messed me up. It was I watched it for the first time during COVID,
mhm.
and there was one scene in particular that just I didn't, and I don't think my friends, my two roommates, and this is like the epitome of lockdown, right?
Right.
Finally watched this movie. I've seen more movies. Seen Hacksaw Ridge, which I would recommend that to
I meant
anybody.
I meant Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh,
That's
but
the one I meant.
Saving Private Ryan, though, also wonderful movie. But just the brutal honesty of what
Hmm.
the soldiers felt on D-Day was horrible. And the scene, this scene, this one kid, he gets shot. He's the medic, and as he's dying, they start giving him morphine to let him easy go into it, and he's just crying out to his mom. he just keeps saying "mama," and he just gets slower, and it just mm, something about it, something about it just ooh, like I was ugly sobbing. And my friend who I'd known since I was 10, and my roommate, and my other roommate who I had known for a pretty decent amount as well, neither of them knew I could like sob like that. I was a mess. Like it just sparked something in me. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I totally get what you're saying. This movie is not like a happy like, oh boy, let's sit down and yeah, it was extinction level stuff, but not for who you think it was about.
Yeah. It was also like it had a very similar happy sad ending as like um I Am Legend.
Oh, yeah.
That was that it thinking about it earlier today, I was just I kept there was a lot of things that just reminded me of about I Am Legend, mainly the end.
Do you know? This is so for those of you spoilers for I Am Legend. Um, Dr. Neville dies in the end of the original theatrical release.
There's an
The
alternate ending.
alternate ending,
Uh-huh.
he lives. That is what the sequel's going off of. We're getting a sequel.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
and for anyone out there going, that's lame, I'm like, I kind of like that. Just kind of, that's how you truly do in an alternate reality, like in an alternate universe. If you don't know what's going on, you got to go do some research. There was a video game I played, the Prince of Persia series. They came out with the second game, and when you beat it originally, if you don't get like certain thing and unlock it, you won't get the secret ending. And so many people beat the game and they beat the main monster. This was back in like 2004, 2005, 2006 era. Okay, so you don't really get to see spoilers as fast as you do today, right? And the third game came out and people were like, "What?" And then they said, "Hey, go play the game again and get all these things." And it unlocked it. So I kind of like that. So, but yeah, I totally get where you're bittersweet.
Yeah, very bittersweet. There were a few parts where it was just like, oh, that's so sad. But it just hurt. It was a lot. There were a lot of the kids, and I know you mentioned something about it. There were a lot of like the little kids that like they're probably like 8 years old,
8 or younger.
if that, and they're just bawling because people are dying, and it
It's their caretakers,
yeah.
their parents, their surrogate parents. And for everyone who doesn't know what this movie is about, in simple terms, it's just robot revolution in a way.
Mhm.
Robots are fighting against extinction. In the beginning of movie, they want you to think that we as humans, and it's the typical trope, we as humans are fighting this enemy, we're trying to get them away, but turns out humans are the bad guys, more specifically the US government,
Mhm.
which we've seen in many different movies. For anyone out there that's seen District 9, very similar feel. And I won't complain about revisiting a story. And that's something that, I was talking to Jerry at work today about this movie because I wanted to get his opinion because he told me about it and the first thing out of his mouth, and Tim's going to laugh when I say this. First thing out of his mouth, I'm like, "What was your main issue with the movie?" And he thinks about it, thinks about it. The first word that comes to my mind is predictable.
Yep,
And
yep,
I was
I knew
like,
it.
"Yep. Yep, it's pretty You saw that coming, huh? It was a predictable
I
answer."
did. There were a lot of points in the movie where I turned to Willem. We're sitting on the couch, and I'm like, "This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen." And he's like, "Yeah, probably." And then they happen, and it's like
there
the
There was one
it's
though that
predictable.
you full on were like, "Ugh," just sat
Uh
there all smug, and I can't remember what it was.
it was my prediction that she was Nirmata.
Oh yes,
My prediction was she was Nirmata. That Maya, the wife of Joshua, was the the creator. the creator of these artificial intelligence
Hmm.
creatures, and it was revealed that she was Nirmata and she was alive. And I looked at Willem and I was like, uh huh, I called it.
The world building at the very beginning, like the whole, and I
Literally the first like 2 minutes.
was like, we both were like, oh, and then the next 20, 30, you're kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and then it really gets interesting when you're now submerged into the robot side of things, which I find ironic.
So here's what I thought was interesting, and I'm not sure how exactly they pulled it off to make me feel this way. Most movies, you feel like it lasted the 2 hours that it was, right?
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes it feels shorter than it really was. Not very often, unless it's a really bad movie. Not very often does it feel like it was longer than it was. This movie was very, very well done, and it felt like we had just sat through like a 4 hour movie, but in a good way.
yeah. It no, it
In a
I
good way.
we
Like there
had
was a
to
lot
absorb
of
so much.
there was a lot that was packed in there, but it was very well executed, and a lot of the information was given to us through dialogue, through implications, pretty obvious implications in a lot of the instances, or a lot of things coming back, um, and yeah, it was very well done.
It was, and I was really surprised how much I think this movie is going to have a cult following,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I think this movie is. I'm pretty sure I will watch this again this year for sure. I will
Yeah.
probably sit down and watch this again. It's not perfect. I've seen the story many times, but it's a story I love so much. Yet I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird movie. It's a weird movie to think about.
It is a weird
It's not perfect.
movie.
We've seen it.
It calls to mind a lot of ethical questions.
Yeah.
And the big one that they wanted to ask and have us answer was, if we create AI that um if we create AI that can think, that can feel, that has emotions, and is, in all senses of the word, fully sentient, are they still alive?
Is it just a simulation?
Is it just a simulation?
That's
Is it just programming?
currently, I need to say, currently, I don't, even those fancy robots we see doing interviews, I don't see them as sentient. And this movie does give it a different way because most of the robots, you had what they call stims, the stimulate,
Sims,
sims, sorry, sims,
simulants.
simulants, the simulations.
Stims is a very
Yeah,
different thing.
very different thing. Very different thing. Sorry. But they were robots that had been given faces. At the very beginning of the movie, they talk about how people would donate their likeness so that they could make faces for robots. And there are a few robots in this movie that have faces. And there are a few actors in this movie who play multiple robots because they are just copies.
Well, because the thing was, from what I understood, they wanted to make the robot. They wanted to make the AI feel real. They wanted them to be humanized, and so they were asking people to donate their likeness.
Yeah.
Basically donate their physical image, their face,
Yeah.
um, in a not gruesome way. Um, and I think it was well done. There were a lot of points where it was like,
Oh, that's a robot.
hold on, wait a minute, we just saw that person, they died, and oh, I see now.
Oh, I see.
There was the one there was one of the, I want to call them droids, but they're not droids. Um, one of the AI that he was a police officer, and he showed up like 4 or 5 times,
Yep.
and it was kind of cool. And then there was also the mother, Maya, the creator, and her face showed up a bunch.
That part was a
That part
that
threw you off,
I was
didn't
like,
it?
whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. But I still am wondering, like, because that's an excellent point. There's this woman who the only thing I can think of is her father being the main one of the main creators of AI and a big pioneer of it. Maybe he used his likeness for her. Maybe he used her likeness, and I don't know. I just there's a lot of questions. I think there's a lot of, and I think that's what this podcast episode is going to be. Is a lot of unanswered questions we had, as well as a little lit discussion, as well as um, just a few ethical points. I'm like, oh, jeez.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually, here's a question for you. How does one make a movie that is full of tropes that have already been done and make it something worth doing? Like, make it good.
I'm gonna take one of my favorite movies that I've ever watched, and I'm gonna
Megamind.
Megamind.
Okay.
Megamind. It is the most cliche movie out there. Like the movie is built on the cliche.
It is.
They take all of these different tropes and they throw them all into a big pot, and they're like, all right, we're working with hero's journey, the villain's journey. We're working with the typical superhero's upbringing. We're gonna use the hero's fall.
Enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers. We're gonna use the classic, the hero dies, a new hero has to rise. All of these different tropes, and they throw them in together, and
They let it simmer, and it was
just
delicious.
yeah. Just like with cooking, right? They had to be prepared in a certain way, and they had to be cared for. Each quote unquote vegetable had to be cut just right and cooked just to the right temperature, so it's just the right perfect consistency. The noodles had to be boiled not too long as to just get creamy, but also cook long enough that they're not super al dente. The chicken had to be cooked enough that it was safe to eat, but also not too long so that it was burnt. You know,
Yeah.
And that's each of those is those tropes. They had to be fit together, so they had to be fit together perfectly. And I think Megamind did a great job with that. This movie took
I got to applaud you for just a food, using food to describe tropes in a movie. I didn't even, just makes perfect sense because, well, I'm just thinking about movies that did tropes too much, or like even this movie. Absolutely, some parts there was too much.
Did they
of
cook it
this.
too long?
It
Did
was
they
cooked
not
too
cook
long.
it enough?
It was,
Did they put too
or
much?
it was like way too much.
Did
that-
they put too many potatoes in
Yeah,
there?
like is it too
not
many
have enough
potatoes?
meat?
Was it too starchy? Like
Uh-huh.
that is. It's like a math equation. There's equations. It's like, anyway, we could make connections. I love that. Just sorry, my ADHD brain is going. Yeah, that.
I made the cooking one especially for you because I know you really like to cook. By the way, people, this man can cook. All you single ladies out there, he's
Stop.
single. And he knows how to cook.
Yeah. Except before you came here, all I had was I just made chicken nuggets, a pizza roll, and a microwave
That's how you're
burrito. And I just threw in the air fryer and ate it before you came here, and that's what I had today. But I love making food, but I also love making very fat food. Hey, I totally interrupted you because you wanted to make some points about this movie.
You're good. The main point that I wanted to make was with this movie in particular. I feel like I feel like this is something. If this were a dish, it's one that I would pay for every now and again.
Okay.
You know, like there's restaurants where you'll go every now and again because you're feeling it, and I feel like this movie is like that.
So I actually had a buddy, and I love this analogy, and I'll never ever drop it. But he says that there are movie meals, and then there are movie treats. There's
Hmm.
a movie treat that you watch once, and it can be amazing, absolutely amazing treat. You really enjoy it, but that really was all that it was. It was just a treat. You can't like I can't have it all the time. You have it once in a while, and it's a treat. You're like, fun, fun.
Hmm.
But then there's some that are just a meal that you're like, this is a lot more than I wanted. Like John Wick. John Wick is snack, movie snack. I can enjoy those once in a while. Heck, I'll go on a marathon and I'll have fun. But I don't own those movies. I don't watch them. But I could
Hmm.
easily, if someone said, "Hey man, you want to do a John Wick marathon?" I'd be like, "You son of a monkey, I'm in." Like easy. I just absolutely would hop in on that. Lord of the Rings, I have the theatrical
Hmm.
releases. Same thing. Not it's a big hefty meal that you have to have once a year. That's different than just a snack.
Once a year, that's not enough. Not for Lord of
I
the
mean, for
Rings.
me, that's not really. I guess it is more of a. It's a very expensive treat to myself. That's when I really watch it. Because if I start, the thing is, if I start Lord of the Rings, I gotta watch all of them,
Yeah.
and
No,
that's
I'm
and
I'm
that's
right there with
the
you.
and that's the issue. Especially if random Lord of the Rings topic. You know how everyone always talks about wanting to be like Aragorn.
Yeah.
I think we all need to realize that we are not Aragorn, and we're all just Boromirs.
Wow.
I
Wow.
just need everyone to like think about that for a second. In that analogy,
Hmm.
very few of us, if that, are ever going to be like an Aragorn. But most of us are human. We're imperfect, but we can try to make up in the end. And the thing is, if Boromir hadn't died, he would have completely changed and been awesome.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't know. I'm not the Lord
I
of the
mean,
Rings
there's the
expert.
there's the how it should have ended or whatever. Not the how it should have ended. There's I can't remember what it's called, but there's a series on YouTube that went into that, and they're like, yeah, if Boromir had survived, we would have had like two movies at most, or two books at most, because he would have gotten Gondor to actually march an army into Mordor, and they would have thrown the ring in, and he would have been there at Frodo's side, and yada yada yada. And it's like, wow. And I have to agree. Anyway,
We will have to have a Lord of the Rings
we'll
discussion one day.
we'll talk about Lord of the Rings another day. Um, yeah, I think so. What do you think this movie was? Was it a snack, a treat, or a
I
meal?
think I don't know what to do
And
with
if it
this.
was a meal, was it breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Oh, wow. Wow. Ooh. I'll give it a good lunch.
Okay.
I don't treat my lunches with as much respect as usually lunches are leftovers and
Hmm.
whatever. And I mean, sometimes they do have care and you'll like spend time with it. But usually my breakfast, if I get time with a breakfast, I'm going to make a big old breakfast. Like maple
Okay.
syrup's coming out. Dinner though, that is my
That's your big meal.
favorite meal.
Hmm.
I don't know if you can guess that,
Oh,
but it
I
is
I figured.
dinner is my favorite meal, breakfast second, lunch. Yeah. Anyway, I think that this movie is one that you can easily come back to and think about, especially if you love robots. It's easy one to watch once in a while. And I there's a statue out there, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it. There's a statue out there that's dedicated to all the robots: R2D2, C3PO, the Iron Giant, Gundams. I know Gundams are, um, not man made, but they're piloted, but still, just all these robots that are not human. They don't have souls, they don't have ethics, but yet these robots teach us more than anything how to be human. That's why I am so excited for the new DreamWorks movie.
Yeah, I. Oh, the wild robot looks so good.
It looks so good.
It
There's
looks so
something
cute.
about robots, but yet what irks me is in the end, I don't think I would put a robot's function over a human's life. I don't think I would. I hope
Mm,
not. But here's
yeah.
here's the cheat. Here's the cheat. And here's what I have to remind everyone. Most of these robots and all these fictional things that we have seen have been played by humans. We're seeing the human side because there
Mm,
are actors. When for anyone who's played Detroit Being Human, those are still humans playing those parts. They're giving those robots human emotions because they're acting. And same with this movie. And
mm,
that's why I think it's so hard to be like, it's easy for me to say that, but watching this, if a robot got that cognitive, had those kind of feelings, I think I would hesitate. I don't know. I don't know.
mm.
It's hard. It's
It
so
is.
hard.
It is a difficult. It is difficult for me personally, and I. It's very similar to our clones. This is very similar to our clones
It
conversation we had a
really
few weeks
is.
ago. For me personally, AI once it hits the level that it did with this movie, where they are functioning members of society, they have emotions, just like they have human emotions, they have human feelings, human thoughts, they act human, they look human. When they are, in every sense of the word except biologically human, I would treat them as human. Like if their brains, quote unquote brains, function the same way that ours do, if they process information the same way that ours do, I I think I would have to treat them as human.
Have you ever seen The Bicentennial Man
No, or I've heard it. I've heard it's good.
with Robin Williams?
I've heard
Fantastic
it's good.
journey of robot Tin Man to a human. It just brings up the question, what is a human? What does it mean to be human? I think some people might feel uncomfortable with these type of movies because it's scary, because we as humans are scary,
Yes, yes,
very
we are.
scary. um, I think this movie definitely showed the scary side of us. And yeah, I think we could go on for hours about this robot discussion, and we'll probably hit a few more points with it. But now I kind of want to go really into the movie and talk about some of the questions I had. And the main one being the big thing at the beginning, the nuke. So the whole one of the premise of why this war started between it, America had fully adopted AI. They loved them, and then a nuke went off
In San
in San
Francisco.
Francisco, made it ground zero, and that sparked a war. All robots were, and we see that at one point. We see them gathering robots and just disposing of them. And then later in the movie, though, we learn that it was human error. I wish they would have explained that more. I wish they would have given us
It
what
was just very brief.
very brief.
It was very brief.
And it was a robot telling us that. That's why, and a part of me is like,
True.
do I believe him? That's that's the thing, is like, do I believe him? But I
Mm.
don't know, because this robot, Harun, he was really cool. I liked him, and I do love his actor Ken Watanabe. He's you haven't seen him a lot, but he is in this one movie I loved called The Vampire's Apprentice. Honestly, the movie way better than the books. Oh my gosh, the book series, one of the worst endings of a book series ever. That's not the point. Point being, he points that out. He says it really briefly. He's like, "Did you know that the nuke was caused by human error? Human error." And yet they blame us. And I was like, "Okay, can we expand on that? Why would we make that mistake as the U.S. government and then immediately go, well, we actually blew this up, so we're just gonna? Did they stick with the lie? Is that the only reason why? Is just to stick with the lie, or is it truly like, well, now we have an excuse to kill these robots because they're kind of scary? I just so many questions. That's one of my biggest questions about that one. Is and it brought a good point, but for them to say that like near the end, I was like, okay, that makes this whole movie feel kind of forced now.
Hmm.
But I guess there are some just arrogant humans who would just full on, ugh, keep thinking about Allison Janney. Is that how you say your name? Colonel Howell,
Hmm.
the scary lady,
Yeah,
the one you were traumatized by.
the one that I hated her character. She was like Umbridge for me.
She
Like
didn't seem like that at the beginning,
Umbridge
though.
is a terrifying in Harry Potter. Umbridge is horrible. You hate her. You love the concept and you love how well it's done. You just hate her as a person,
Oh yeah,
and that's the same thing with Commander Howell. Like I felt like at the beginning she was humanized a little bit, and then
because she lost both her sons
she
to the
lost both her
war.
sons, and then as the movie progresses, she becomes more and more. It's about the mission.
Robotic.
She becomes, yes, very much so, a lot more robotic, and she's willing to compromise in ways that are unethical, and she's just kind of scary and a terrible person.
But it made sense.
But it
Honestly,
made sense.
it is ironic. I just barely made that realization how robotic the U.S. government was. Oh, they're just robots. We have to get rid of them. So we will do whatever means necessary. Ugh.
Oh, you know who Ken Watanabe is?
Hmm.
He's Raj Al Ghul
Oh yeah.
in Dark Knight.
Yep. He's the fake one.
Yeah.
He's the one that covers up. He's in a lot of stuff, but he's so. I need to think more movies that he's in, but he's really cool. I liked him a lot. And I think another question I had was the character of Drew. So at the beginning of the movie, John David Washington's character, if you guys don't know who that is, he's in the Black Klansman movie. He's in, um, actually, that's not the proper name of the movie now. I feel like a complete jerk because I said that wrong. Dude.
He's the main character in Tenet.
Yep, he's the main character in Tenet. Yeah, Black Klansman. Yeah, I said that. I was so scared I said the name wrong. I was like, geez, great movie.
He's in The Creator.
Yeah, he's in the creator hole. And he is also in oh the I think he was in Ballers with Dwayne Johnson for a second. Anyway, not important. What important is John David Washington's character Joshua undercover. He's trying to figure out the name of the creator, which I can't say the name properly now. How do you say that name?
Kamatra. No, hold on.
The weird name with an N.
Rimatra. No, Nimatra.
Namada.
Namada.
Oh,
Something like that.
now
Hold
I'm
on. Hold
scared.
on. Let me look.
I just
I
totally
just
messed him up. Tim was saying it beautifully earlier, but now then I second guessed myself and it's hard for me to say names. I apologize, everyone. I think it's Namada.
Nirmata.
Nirmata?
I'm pretty sure it's not giving me the actual. It's not giving it to me. But I believe it's Nirmata.
Yep, Nirmata, the creator.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Cool. Funny, it's a software company in San Jose, California with the same name.
Hmm.
Anyway, his mission, he's undercover and he's married to Maya, which is played by the lovely Gemma Chan, who played in the Eternals. She was the main character in Eternals. I can't think of her name at the moment. That shows you how much I.
Cersei.
Yes. Oh, so cute. Anyway, beautiful. Both of them. Both of them just beautiful couple. They were so cute. They were having a baby. She's pregnant with the baby. And a USA raid comes in and they're gonna try to get all the information out of her. And he spills the beans that he's undercover. She runs away, and this giant ship in the sky, which I can't think of the name at the moment. Wow. I need to start taking better notes, guys. I apologize. Crap, what was the name of the big ship in the sky?
Nomad,
Nomad. Wow, I want to say like.
because it wandered the Earth looking for
Oh,
yeah, it
that
wandered
makes
the
more
Earth
sense.
looking for AI to destroy
So
it.
Nomad, the giant ship, this thing is huge. Like I didn't realize how big it was, but it made the International Space Station look like a shack. It's huge, and it shoots down the ship that Maya is heading in. 5 years later, Joshua is now being set to go back because they found that Maya is alive and she still knows where Narmada is, and go through all this. And one of my other questions is really quickly about his buddy Drew. His buddy Drew is the one that the robots brought in at the beginning of the movie. They're pounding his face in, and that's when Joshua reveals that he is undercover. He's like, Drew, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. Later in the movie, when he's taking the secret weapon, Alfie, the robot child, around, he goes and finds Drew, who now has left the US government, has fallen in love with a robot, and works with robotics. And my thing was like, why would you just leave it like that for us? They were so vague. So vague. I did love the character. The Cammy, that robot, she was so lovely. Do you want some ice cream?
Yeah.
Which was nuts because it's like, wait a minute, robots eat ice cream? Because she was gonna get ice cream for the little girl. But that scene was so cute. She asks Alfie, "Do you want anything? Robots to be free?" I don't think we have that in the fridge.
Hmm.
I just don't know why. It made me laugh. Oh, it makes me feel so awkward how human they were. Oh, sorry, but I'm just having like an existential crisis over on this side of the table now. Oh. Except the robots were kind of ruthless to each other. They didn't care. Man, the scene with the dog and the monkey.
Those were funny.
Those were so crazy. Dog takes a grenade the police throws in and drops it by them, and then the monkey picks up the detonator, looks at the ship, and boop. And I'm like, did that monkey do that on purpose? What just happened?
Hmm.
Ugh.
It was funny. I will say one of the big issues I had, and apparently a lot of other people are in agreement. Um, the U.S. soldiers' stealth equipment had big, bright flashlights on their helmets so they could see. What in the world is more visible than a big freaking flashlight
Here's my theory.
on their helmet visor?
From far away, I kept thinking they were robots. So
Yeah,
I kept thinking they were trying to be undercover to robots. And I did tell Tim this theory is that most of their equipment was used so that they can tell who was a robot and who was not. Because if the Sims cover up the sides of their face, because if you look at a Sim from the side, there's a giant hole in their head. Then it shows like,
it shows the circuitry.
yeah,
And
it's
everything.
crazy. It was really cool. I love the design.
It is really cool.
Loved it. I just spaced out. Oh, they can easily hide as a human. So I had a theory, and I was kind of telling Tim that I think many of the things that the U.S. was doing was because, like, how they were just quickly like targeting robots so fast is because they had equipment for that. The only time they ever like massacred humans was all of the scientists who were guarding Alfie, which was so nuts. And halfway through the movie, I said, "Oh, America's the bad guy, and we totally were at war with New Asia." That was the most awkward part of this movie. Oh yeah, we're not at war with New Asia. We just really don't like your robots, and it's like, okay, 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 okay. Sorry, I just imagine the big flashlights now, and it made me laugh because they did look. They were so bulky. It was weird. Oh no. Every time the US government showed up, I was always like, boo. You guys make the plot boring. Oh, can we talk about the brain thing?
Oh,
The chip that I just
I know you didn't like it, but I thought it was cool.
it was cool, but here, I'll let you kind of.
So how how the brain thing works that Willem's talking about is after a person dies, they have a machine that scans the brain for the electrical signals, and it basically gives the brain like a full CAT scan to determine all of the electrical waves coming in, all of the pulses and everything, so that it's able to read the memories and basically upload the brain itself into this little Nintendo DS cartridge.
It was a little bigger
A
than
little bigger than
but
that.
I see what you mean. Totally, it was literally a memory stick.
Yeah, it was a memory stick. It really was. Um, and then they would stick that into the back of an AI, into the back of a robot's head, and it would basically upload that person into the robot for a little bit.
Was it the person or okay? So here's my main question: is was it the person or was it just a copy of the person's brain? That's ooh like
I don't know.
like if you were to do that to my brain.
I would guess that it's a copy because the original is dying, is dead, and they used it the first time we saw it used. They used it to um, get information from one of the dead soldiers, and he only had a couple minutes to be able to talk before
He had 30
it ran out.
seconds because
Was it
he'd
30
been
seconds?
30 seconds because he had hours because he had the cop sitting there and he's like, oh, you're running on like 10 seconds left, and then the guy started like, tell my wife, and he was gone. You're like,
Yeah.
jeez. And he was in the roller and he was in the Sims body and it was weird. It was like, what?
Mm-hmm. That was an interesting concept, and I personally I think it's cool, and it's not the first time we've seen something like this. Um, but I think it's done very well.
The only one I can really think of that I actually was like, okay, I could see this is Zola in Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very well done. And it was like everything you see around you is my brain. It's all these old computers from the 60s. But it's just like that bunker was ginormous. We didn't even get to see, for everyone thinking about that scene, we don't really see how far that thing goes. Because in order for us to fully comprehend the human mind, I think it's like someone did show that a current supercomputer, like those big ones that run government things, you need about, even to this day, 50 of them to match like what a human mind is like in the way of how our brain and neuron links, all those things. I don't study the brain, and if I'm making stuff up, y'all can totally yell at me. We'd love to hear your comments anytime. Just saying, we miss getting comments. Would love an email. Still gonna throw that out there. Y'all should email us sometime. Anyway, I get that they did that to use that later on, because the second I saw it, I went, whoa, that's gonna be used later. I'm guessing on who, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, another instance of it's predictable.
But it was okay. Sometimes I like being able to go, yeah, I know where this movie's going.
Mm-hmm.
What's a bad instance of when you're like, oh, I know where this is going? Like, what was a movie that was so predictable you're like, oh,
A movie that was so predictable that I was
just exhausted with it? Like, you didn't enjoy it.
I don't have one coming to mind.
All right, maybe later on in the episode, I'll be like, got it, Aladdin. Yeah, the live action one was so predictable. I knew like the whole thing by heart.
Gee, I wonder why.
Same with Cinderella. What the heck? Maleficent, though, that caught me off guard.
That's a good movie.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Have I told you about it?
Yeah, you have. At least 3 times now. 3.
Mm-hmm. At least while we're recording.
So, another big question. that I have.
Hmm.
Okay. Another big question was, you know, Alfie, the robot child,
Yeah.
she was created by Maya, but when it was dropped, because later on in the movie, it's revealed to us that Maya is in a coma, and that the
Yes.
robot citizens revere her so much as a god that they literally cannot find themselves to pull the plug on her. She's in this beautiful sanctuary. Joshua and Alfie have found refuge at this place. He's allowed to he is somewhat allowed to finally live with the robots after getting their trust after a attack.
After he saves Alfie.
Yeah. And it's revealed that Alfie is a direct carbon quote unquote carbon copy of Maya's and Joshua's baby. And my biggest concern with that, or issue bugging me, like itching my brain, is that when was she finding the time to make? And they even like show a scene of her making this little baby fetus robot baby while she's pregnant. She's touching her stomach a few times while she's making it. So my only big thing was like, when on earth did you make that? In my
Mm.
head, if there was anything I would have changed with this movie, is that Maya was not in a coma. That's probably the biggest thing. I still probably would have had her die, and I would
Yeah.
have, because I feel like that to me would have been a little more successful. I would have agreed with that death more because I knew what was coming than Stoic's death in How to Train Your Dragon 2. I will fight anyone. That's one of the worst DreamWorks deaths. It should have at least happened in the third movie. He just got both his parents back, and you robbed us like that over a crappy villain. Ooh. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another day.
That's another can of worms for later. But I wouldn't have minded it in this movie. I feel like she could have been, yeah, because what happens is the monks, the monks of this temple, who are all robots, take Joshua, and Joshua is the one to pull the plug, and they upload her memories. Actually, no, they don't upload to it because that's when Colonel Buttface arrives. And her death was so satisfying.
Oh, it was so satisfying.
I think I saw Tim do a little yes when she died.
I was pretty happy. What happened is Haroon had come in.
You're so good at
Well,
memorizing names.
so they had Professor Commander Howell had come in to confront Joshua to take Alfie and to kill Maya. Um, and she wanted Joshua um to pull the plug on Maya, who was just barely being kept alive on, in essence, life support. And then Haroon comes in and is shot, but he launches a grenade, a sticky grenade onto her back, and she doesn't realize it until Haroon has fallen over, and then she starts freaking out, and they're trying to get it off, and it's about to explode, and then Alfie holds out her hands and turns off the explosive
Because Alfie can
because
communicate
Alfie
with.
can control all manner of electronics
It's really cool.
within a certain area. Um, and anyway, then one of the soldiers points their guns at the kid, at Alfie, and Alfie then loses concentration, and the grenade turns back on, and then she just blows up. And it was so satisfying. I was so happy she died. It's like when Umbridge is taken by the centaurs in Harry Potter. Like it was
Yeah, but
just one of
she
the
still
most satisfying. She
lived.
did, but it was one that was one of the most satisfying moments.
Nope, Harry shooting her in the Ministry of Magic in
Yeah,
the seventh book.
that was good too.
Fantastic.
That was also really
I think I
satisfying.
I think I love that way more. Her wearing Mad Eye's eye, I mean the Horcrux, and using Mad Eye's eye as a ornament. How dare she?
Hmm.
Ooh, still gets me steamed up. They did a pretty good job showing that in the movie, and I was happy. I
Hmm.
must not tell lies. Boom. Anyway, whoo, whoo. So before because she freaks out when she finds that Joshua's pulled the plug, and she's like, "We're gonna take," and they realize they're gonna take her memories. Joshua calls her out like, "Oh, you all playing God now?" Like kind of being, sassy. And they
Hmm.
take her memory, they upload it to the memory stick, which I'm guessing if you are, I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to keep your brain. I don't think it's going to be like a forever thing. I
No.
think it's probably just going to last you maybe a couple days, maybe. I don't know, depending on
Hmm.
how good the juice you got. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. They never really explained it.
We see similar technology in Doctor Who.
Oh,
There's a particular series of it's 2 episodes back to back, following the same story. The first time you meet River Song, um,
nerd. Just kidding.
and it's in the library. Anyway, whenever there's a bunch of archaeologists that come in, and they're wearing spacesuits, and whenever they die in the spacesuit, an echo of of their soul kind of lingers on for a little bit, um, and they're able to communicate, and you're able to talk with them, have a conversation. Then as the battery runs out, or as the echo kind of dies out, then it starts to repeat itself before it goes silent. And that was something similar with this, where I think this was a little more perfected than that, because that was just a hiccup in technology. Um, but in this movie, it's intentional, and I think they've perfected it as best they can with the technology they have at the moment. Um, and so they're able to essentially download the brain, and those electrical signals continue to fire, continue to move around, um, but without the host body there, then the brain isn't actually producing those thoughts
Yeah, I think it is just
anymore.
a. I think it is just an echo, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it is technically a clone of the brain, a copy. It's a copy. It's
Mm-hmm.
an electrical copy that's only going to last you a couple seconds. Your body's dead and gone.
It's like when you burn music onto a disc.
Yeah, it's not the real thing.
Mm-hmm. It's
It's
not the
just a
original.
copy. It's not the original, just a copy. I think that's a perfect way to describe it. Thank you, Tim. Man, you're just killing it with the
Thanks.
analogies today. Pat yourself on the back.
You'd think I'd be not doing great with how tired I am, but
No, honestly, it's been pretty. It's been a nice, quiet episode so far. Um, with that kind of thing that we've brought up, is it kind of built us up to the end of the movie because the U.S. government seems to win. They get a hold of Alfie. They get a hold of Joshua. Joshua is going to be praised a hero, even though we all know that he really shouldn't have been in the U.S.'s eyes. Like, I'm using quotations here
mm-hmm.
for what he did in their war. And at the end of the movie, him and Alfie, after they've tricked everyone thinking she's dead, they are able to get past so many ways security. And I get it because Alfie is a little robot messiah in a way. Hope that's not too crude to say, but
No, she really is.
because if Maya is there like a god, like creator, and she is like a special, it really is a play on a messiah. She is a little messiah. She can
She
speak through
was
all the
referred
robots.
to as a savior, and I need to preface this. Any of you who are thinking we're being a little sacrilegious, we're not. Savior literally just means one who saves.
Most of the prophets of old, I'm going a little Christian here, most of the prophets of old were all in their ways a Messiah or Savior in the way for what they did. Moses, to many of the people of Egypt, he was a Savior.
Mhm.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
And Alfie is the same with this. In this movie, he or she saves the AI.
you could call her an arbiter too if you want.
Well, an arbiter is just a judge.
Oh, that's right. They take. Yes.
Um, yeah, Alfie would be, in essence, the AI savior.
Yeah.
She
And she does.
is able to, with Joshua's help, she's able to take out Nomad, destroy Nomad, which is the only way that the U.S. government can eradicate the AI. Which I do want to hit on this U.S. government thing for just a second. Wow, they're bad. They got scared of what AI could do, and so they're like, "All right, species genocide. Anybody? Let's just destroy it.
Better be safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry." Like I know a lot of people are rely on the AI, and the AI are basically like family members, but we got to get rid of them now. Goodbye, and so they'll blow up all of the AI, and they kill people who help build the AI. In the beginning, there's when they first find Alfie, there's a big underground laboratory, and they go in, this U.S. government special ops team. They go in and they straight up shoot everybody, humans or AI.
You know what the sad thing is? I don't think any of them was the old. No, I think all of them were human. They were all bleeding.
All of them were human, and then there were the AI above.
Oh, and then the cops. Yeah, the cops
Mhm.
came, and those
Yep.
and some of those were cops, but all the people underneath, I think, were human because
Yeah.
they were. I think they were just helping develop and build robots. I don't know. That's another question of like, what was that place really? Was that really just for Alfie, and
I think
how?
I think so. I think it was for Alfie to help to teach Alfie and to monitor her and how she grows and how she and her powers and how and all of that. Because there was the TV in the room,
Yeah,
right? That she's turning on and off with her mind. And I think it was a laboratory to keep an eye on her.
it just seemed very elaborate. And it's like, so that it was the New Asia government in on this? Did they understand it? And there's so many like questions that I was like, the world building was so good that I wanted to know more, or maybe that's bad because that left so much unanswered.
No, I
So,
think that's a good thing. The way that we were left wanting more was good
okay.
because they built the world in a way that obviously it's on Earth
So, unlike,
40 years from now.
yeah.
So we already know kind of the settings, and we're already familiar with, we're familiar with Asia, we're familiar with the United States, we're familiar with all the places they're going to, at least on a map, and then they're adding new things to it. They're adding new forms of new governments, new forms of society, new relationship structures between the AI and the humans, and they built it up really well. And I think wanting to know more is good.
Okay, so here's my counter argument to that wanting
Okay.
more. Babylon AD. I wanted more. Wanted way more.
We
So,
wanted
what's
more
the
because we
difference?
weren't given enough to
Okay.
understand.
So, what?
In this movie, so the difference is how much we're given initially.
Okay, Mr. World Builder.
In Babylon AD, we don't understand all the structures between everything because it's never explained how all of these organizations function connectively.
Even like a quick summary would have been
Hmm.
nice.
Something simple. I mean, they do explain a little bit.
In the beginning, we just got Denzel Washington getting blown up. Not Denzel Washington, Vin Diesel getting blown up.
Yeah,
We didn't
but
get an awesome little video like this movie
mhm.
did, which was like,
in this movie, we got the the it was
we were
almost like it
plunged.
was almost like a documentary.
Yeah,
At the very beginning, we got like a little documentary explaining exactly how the world got to where it is now. It explained it set in place. It happened, 21st century, beginning of the 21st century, AI was developed, and then in about 2035 or so, a nuke went off in San Francisco, and that caused a big war. And then 15 years went by, um, and Nomad was created in that time, and they're hunting all these AI, trying to eradicate them to protect mankind. Um, and it was very well done. And then throughout the movie, we're getting to see all these other places. We got probably my favorite area, my favorite city of the whole in the movie was a Star Wars looking place. Go figure. It's me. But
haha.
it was like a little city that was built into almost like it reminded me of a more boxy Cloud City from Star Wars.
The
Um,
sets were beautiful.
it was very well made, and it was a place where they would manufacture AI, um, and care for them, and it was really cool, very well done, and I learned more about how they wanted their world to be structured, and from a world building standpoint, I think they did a very very good job. Leaving us wanting more in this sense is a very good thing because we wanted more, we didn't need more. Babylon AD, we needed more to understand the story better, but we didn't get it.
I totally agree with you, and I'm just kind of I don't know how to do a proper tangent of this because I was trying to look up to make sure about. That's not important. Point is, I ran into the creator is a colossal disappointment, and it just says the funny thing that made me laugh is it's like it's a beautiful disaster, and it's predictable, and it's very cliche, and just made me laugh. That's like everything we've been talking about. But I think the reason I don't know why do me and you like it compared to because I've watched Blade Runner, I've played Detroit Being Human, I have I Robot is probably one of my favorite Will Smith movies. So why? Oh, sorry everybody. Why would this movie? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what is kind of itching it for me. Maybe I think maybe it's just beautiful. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
have to watch it again. Maybe someday I'll watch it again and I'll be like, oh, it wasn't as good as I thought. No, no, I don't mind retell hearing a story again if it's well done beautifully. I think maybe it's because we've been watching so many crappy crap movies that this we were like, oh,
That
this is
could be it. That's true.
this is oh,
No, I think it was just very well put together.
it really was. It's not perfect. The ingredients, like if we're going back to your food analogy, which I love. If we're going to your food analogy, we're taking ingredients that we all have had and we've turned it into something that's yummy. Lasagna, spaghetti, and I might get like stabbed for this in the streets for saying this, but lasagna, spaghetti, and many other dishes with those type of things are very similar to some degree, but yet we love it. Eggs, wow, what can you do with eggs? You just did something a little bit different. And I think I just want to quickly just glance over the ending, even though it was predictable.
It was predictable, but it
It was
was
so
it
satisfying.
was very satisfying.
You know, they the escape pod is there's an escape pod, and Joshua and Alfie are gonna try to get on it. The U.S. government uses their creepy manually controlled drone to try to grab him. I honestly was like terrified it was gonna rip one of them in half. Either one would have been traumatizing because it was this
Mhm.
giant like I don't know. I want to say like brainiac thing. Just this. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was terrifying. Like if I ever were to make a D&D thing, that would be a big boss in some sci-fi D&D thing. I was like, "Oh, that's scary."
Mhm.
I loved it. It oh, oh. Point being, Alfie gets off the ship in time right before it blows up, and Joshua is in this beautiful like garden like area, like this place where they're like where they've been making like not a pasture. I don't even know what to call it.
They're growing food.
Yeah, they're growing
They're
food
growing
up there.
plants. I'm my guess is they had the plants there for oxygen.
Ah,
That would make sense to me.
and it was cute because Alfie had found, which was so. This was another weird part. Was why was there a room of Sims that looked just like Maya in just one part of it? They
They mentioned that general dude mentioned that normally they take AI up to Nomad to study them.
hmm.
So I'm
So
gonna
maybe
guess,
there was not just her in there.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe she just found one, and that was the general one. So she find
Or it was it. They were all her because the government knew that she was Nomad and
uh,
wanted to study her.
at least get her like facial expressions, whatever.
Hmm.
I honestly had a sick feeling that they were programming them and sending them around to mess with him. I would have done that. I would have put that in the movie. The U.S. government just keeps sending those to throw him off and freak him out because they never really trusted him. That's how I would have done it. Ooh, ooh. But the ending with Alfie, she keeps calling her mother. Oh, and she wants her to go to heaven.
Hmm.
Oh, but you see her pulling this sim through this place, and she puts the chip in. She says, "Mother, please." Doesn't wake up, and later to go help Joshua. Joshua gets stranded on the ship while it's blowing up, and he's walking through the beautiful garden area. Reminds me of Gladiator scene at the end. If you know, you know. And all of a sudden, he sees a figure standing in there, and it's Maya. And I was like,
Hmm.
even though we all saw it coming,
We all saw it coming, but it
I
was very
was. It
satisfying.
was the way the question was in my head. How are they going to pull this off now? When he pulled that chip out of the little brain scanner, I went, okay, how are they
Hmm.
going to get this to happen? Because we know there's robots out. That's why they set it up that there were AIs out there. And oh my goodness, they have some testing AI up there. All right, they set it up perfectly for it to work. Even though it was predictable, at least it made sense on paper. They didn't do anything wrong with the regard of it being there. Of with that AI being there, they explained that AI was up there. They explained that there were copies of her out there. They showed us copies of her throughout the movie. They scanned a copy of her brain, and it was satisfying. But so many questions like that wasn't really Maya. It was just a memory. I still think having Maya be alive and they get like at least a half an hour together in that sanctuary would have been wonderful.
Yeah.
It'd have been really sad if she dies right before they like hug or kiss, like a bullet to the head from the general, and you'd have hated her even more. Ooh.
Yeah.
But all in all, I give it a 7.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think a
Rewatchability though,
solid 7.
I will have to see. I'll tell you all. Hopefully, if we're still doing this, we will still be doing this. I guarantee it. Anyway, um,
Hmm.
I'll let y'all know if I ever watch it again.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm right there with you. I think it was a very well done production, and I I'll probably I'd probably watch it again. It was a very very good movie. It's sad for sure, and it raises a lot of ethical questions, but I genuinely think they did a really really good job making us feel things throughout the movie.
And I've
We
told
felt we felt anger, we felt fear, we felt sadness, we felt joy, we felt surprised.
we laughed at a few
We
scenes.
we laughed at a few scenes.
I totally forgot about that.
Um, but it was very good, and I think I would watch. I think I'd watch it again.
I think I told you that I typically, when I watch movies, if it makes me go through all the emotions, I generally like it. So I'll give this a few more watches. Since it's streaming, I'm like, I have it whenever.
Mm-hmm.
But if it came to a day where it was gone and I missed it, maybe I'll buy it. We'll see. But I think the ethical questions of you know what? I will say this blanket statement. I hope I don't live in a world where AIs are that strong because I don't want to go through those tough questions.
I hope that I don't have to live through a period where those ethical questions are asked at all.
Yep. I don't need it. I'm okay with talking to my little my Googles, and I don't want to say her name too loud because my TV will yell at me. But you know who I'm talking about, and
Mm-hmm.
you know series and all those type of things. I don't want, I'm okay with them just answering questions and being there. But in the end, I know they're not real. If my devices were to break, I'd be more sad that the device broke, not because I lost the AI inside.
Not because you lost a friend.
Yeah. So I would.
Yeah.
Do I want there to be cool robots? Yeah, part of me does, but also I just no, no.
Yeah.
But if that day does come and I'm still here, we'll see what happens. I'll roll with it. Roll with it. Random thing though,
Yeah.
random thing. Since this is, we do talk about movies and podcasts here. I was really surprised about the Wonka movie.
Hmm.
Like, holy crap!
Was it good?
Yeah, loved it.
Okay.
It's a musical. Let everyone know it's a musical, but it was really cute because my mom, she loves Roald Dahl. I don't know how to say his name.
Roll doll.
Roald Dahl loves those stories. My mother also loves Peter Pan. She finds, and I can't think of Doyle. Is it Doyle? Anyway, um, loves those stories.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out that the author of Peter Pan, if you want to write anything or do anything about Peter Pan, you need to go through the hospital that he donated the legacy of Peter Pan to. If you go find where that statue of Peter Pan is that you see in some movies, you need to go through them. Um, Roald Dahl, Roald Dahl, his family has a corporation now, and you have to go through them. And they worked with the director, and they made this movie, and it felt like his stories. For anyone who loves Matilda, there's a character that reminds you of her. For people who can't stand Trunchbull, you meet a few Trunchbull like characters. It was a very well done, and it kept the feel for it. So I feel like I'm very disappointed to go see it in theaters. So that was just a random thing, but I think that's really all we have to say about the creator. We both gave it a solid 7. It's not perfect. It did have some questions. I think that there could have been a few things done differently that would have made it like wow. And we probably could have talked about things that would have made it less predictable, but I didn't really want to. And also, if I did, y'all would know what would happen. So, ooh, just kidding.
Mm-hmm. Spoilers.
Spoilers. But I really enjoyed it. I really do. I like I like this robot discussion. I like this type of discussion with clones. It makes me enjoy the good side of being human. So that might be cheesy to say, but for me, it's just good to be, I don't know, it's just good to be human.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't have much else to say. Again, I apologize. I am so
I
exhausted.
am so proud of you today.
I had I actually gotten a good amount of sleep last night, I we would have had a longer, better discussion, I think. But I
Still pretty good.
tired,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry. Sorry, not tired, not sorry. Um, but yeah, be kind to one another, and we don't have artificial intelligence, so try to be humanly intelligent, I guess. Love one another. Try not to cause war, internal friendship wars or anything like that. I'm trying to come up with something fun to say, and I'm sorry, I'm tired. Yeah, be nice. Love you guys.
You got it, Tim. You got it. I I think next week will be a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna start giving y'all hints of what we're gonna do, but I think next week is one that I don't know if we'll enjoy watching the movie, but I'm still excited to do it. So I think it should be fun. But like Tim said, y'all be kind, y'all be good, and we'll see you later, pitches. Bye.
Goodbye.